Despite the ratcheting rhetoric coming from both presidential candidates in favor of cannabis descheduling, decriminalizing, rescheduling, or all-out legalization, depending on what day of the week that it is. You know what, Jason, now I think it's no secret that both parties and their best of the best candidates that they decided to put forward, the best that America has to offer, both sides, they have a long track record of lies, and we all know that. So maybe it's time we all took a page out of the playbook of the U.S. Justice Department. If Bowie's and company end up winning, Garcia says that the ruling would immediately impact the status of cannabis at a federal level therefore coinciding with Biden administration's ongoing review of cannabis rescheduling, another one of the three paths forward for cannabis legalization that he's identified as either federal rescheduling through legislation or judiciary processes. So in summary, Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, and to a lesser extent these days, Joe Biden, are indeed the shiny object who are indeed just shilling for whatever last-minute swing votes might be out there from cannabis sympathizers. What we should all really be watching is what's going down in the pending revival of the Cannavision's Inc. versus Merrick B. Garland case, because regardless of which liar ends up on the Oval Throne, appeals picking this case back up stand more of a chance moving the needle forward or backward before Harris or Trump decide a bunch of stoner dreams deserve any of their time and attention. So I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News. And y'all know how I feel about this system. They're all liars, they're all crooks, but got to pick one of them. What do you guys think? What do y'all think? I mean, is this appeal going to go through? I mean, if so, it's saying that this is going to move us quicker to legalization than anything that these liars are saying, regardless. So what do you guys think? Is it going to actually be revived, or are they just going to just let it die?
I think they're going to let it die. They're going to let it die, but I do agree with that assessment, Rico, that the courts would get this thing done way quicker than any governmental individual or body.
You know why, Jason?
Because courts kick ass and it's kick butt day.
No, because it's a matter of fucking constitutional law. And until some judge in that level of court is willing to say, yes, I acknowledge the equal protection of the Constitution of the United States of fucking America, then we're going to keep having this little dog and pony show, and we're going to keep watching people lie. And I also was today years old when I realized, Rico, you weren't the first Cannavision.
You were today years old.
Yep.
What is that?
Rico read Cannavision, and all I could think of was his Cannavision.
Yeah, mine was spelled different. There's a meaning, and there was a backing behind that. So we can talk about that offline.
Oh boy. Man. What do you think about this, Mathieu St. Germain?
I don't know. I really don't think it's going to be the politicians. I think it's going to be the will of the people.
You think the people are just going to make it legal? All of a sudden, they're just going to. All of a sudden, the people control the power of the pen.
It's like speeding in LA.
Enough states are going to legalize it; they're going to have to ratify it. I don't see the politicians really leading.
That's not how it works, though. That's not how.
Well, you asked him what he fucking thought. Let's let him.
I understand
get it
that.
out.
I understand that. I know exactly.
For real, I think if enough. I actually think if enough states ratify it and legalize it, then it'll actually put. Legalization.
I remember at the beginning of the whole medical movement, there was a bunch of people that believed that once 25 states went medical, then the federal government would have to legalize it, and we're way past that marker.
I thought it was 40, but yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
it could be all of them, and you're still gonna have these assholes fighting at the top, trying to rob us of our joy.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I agree with that, Rico. I totally agree with that part. Yarrow, you're pretty quiet today. Did they not take you off the shelf for this?
No, I was just waiting to be asked to participate instead of just jumping in super hyper caffeinated.
You're very low. You're very low.
Your sound sucks.
Your sound is terrible.
Caffeinated a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Turn up your mic. Yeah, I'm very interested. Yeah, I'm very interested in your take, Yarrow, because you were riding hard for this David Bowie's guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, David Bowie.
Du
No, I
Bois.
like,
There we go.
I like David Bowie more than I like David Boyce, for sure. One has contributed a lot more rock and songs. But I think the thing we have to remember is that this is not currently in front of the Supreme Court. The chances that it gets in front of the Supreme Court are great, but not necessarily before we have the DEA ruling. And the difference between the Supreme Court in 2005 with, what was that article? Raich versus
Gonzalez.
Gonzalez. The difference between that Supreme Court and this Supreme Court is massively different in terms of the political and ideological perspectives of the Supreme Court justices. So if this does get to the current Supreme Court, it will be an incredibly interesting litmus test to see how much they care about states' rights in respects to something other than women's reproductive options. And if they do affirm a very heavy sort of preference for states' rights, I could see this getting over the goal line at the Supreme Court. If they don't, I don't think it happens. What I do think is interesting is that I do think the DOJ did this primarily for optics, so that whatever the outcome is with the DEA ruling, they can say, well, we fought the good fight. We were against it. It's the devil's lettuce. It's being laced with fentanyl, yada, yada, yada. So, the DOJ or the Justice Department gets to spend our taxpayers' money on whatever they want, including these types of actions.
Interesting. I think this is gonna play out. I do have a lot of respect for David Boyce. I've had a number of different conversations with him over the years. So, but I think the Supreme Court is ultimately where this thing is going to be headed to, and where we're ultimately are going to get our overall end, so to say, just desserts.
I don't know, man. It's just this whole Biden/Harris versus Trump, them trying to just gain popularity by saying whatever their advisors tell them is what the cannabis voters want to hear. That's just going to pit us against each other, and we're watching the wrong thing. That's my whole point behind this. We're watching the wrong thing, and these shiny objects mean nothing, because once they get into office, just like the past, it's happened a million times before, they do not give a shit about cannabis. So
we are in that phase of the election cycle where it's say whatever to get elected.
These are all Hail Marys being thrown out there, and if your ass is going to jump on the field and try to catch that bitch, go ahead. Good luck.
And candidly, what good is federally legal cannabis if we don't have a FEMA, or we don't have a Department of Education, or we don't have some of these other quality of life issues? And so I don't think there's a single voter out there that is a single issue voter where cannabis is the only reason they're going to vote for a particular candidate. And so I think we need to look at those kitchen table considerations. How's the economy? How are people doing? Are there worker protections? Do we have the opportunity to afford healthcare under whatever system we have? And so I think that, I think they're both pandering, and I think the pandering is disgusting. But it's like watching violence in the Colosseum of Rome. I mean, I'm still going to eat my popcorn and enjoy it to the degree that my sick mind can't.
Oh, I love
something. Well, you know what, I want to jump in on that one, but I'm going to hold it until after Jason's story.
Fair enough, Rico. On that, we're going to roll into a commercial, and we're going to be right back.